thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cindy O'Mara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Kim Morrison, and I'm without the beautiful Cindy and Karen this week because I have taken advantage of being in the company of someone very extraordinary, someone who I hold a lot of respect for. And I feel very honoured and privileged to be down here at Parliament House in Canberra, and I could not help but take the opportunity to interview not only a very dear friend of mine, but somebody who has now been in Parliament officially for the last 18 months. I'd like to welcome to the show the wonderful Andrew Wallace, Federal Member for Fisher. Sorry, Andrew. Thank you. But look, welcome to the show. It's you're the first politician we've ever had on our show in 5 years of running Up for a Chat.
I'm very honoured.
Apparently, we have over 2 million downloads a year.
Wow, that's incredible.
And the majority of those listeners are women. And I dare say, a little bit like me, and I'm going to ask.
Don't turn off.
I know. I'm going to ask for your forgiveness from the beginning that I don't know a lot about politics. It's not been a subject that has interested me because, if I'm really honest, what I see is a lot of bickering and what I see is a lot of, or I think what's televised to us is almost like the antics that go on behind the scenes. Having now been here for the last 24 hours, I can honestly say it's opened my whole world and eyes to what it is that you guys do. So could you explain, first of all, let's get a bit of history about you. Who are you, and have you always had aspirations to be here, and maybe lead us to how we got to being here?
Well, Kim, I'm 49 years old. I live on the Sunshine Coast. Leonie and I moved here 25 years ago. We've raised our 4 daughters on the Sunshine Coast, and we are deeply enmeshed in the Sunshine Coast community. We love it. We'd never want to move anywhere else. But prior to becoming a federal member, and I was only elected 18 months ago, when I finished school, I did a few things. I worked as a volunteer for the De La Salle brothers, and then I ended up joining a monastery for a short while until they gave me the DCM. That's the Don't Come Monday. They figured that I'd have troubles keeping my vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Who would have thought? So after I did that, I came out and I went and did a carpentry apprenticeship. And so that took 4 years. And then I had a building business after that. I built for 10 years all up. And then I had a brain explosion in my late 20s and decided to go back to school, to university, and do a law degree. Did that, practiced as a barrister for 16 years. And then an opportunity came up last year for me to run for pre-selection for the LNP in Fisher, the federal seat of Fisher. I did that and I won pre-selection, and then I won the general election in July of last year, and the rest is history. It's been the greatest privilege of my life. I believe very firmly that federal politics is A grade. It's the pinnacle of community service. I've always been involved in community service since I was 14 years old, whether it was running the local church youth group or, looking after the P&F at the kids' school or the Sunshine Coast Children's Therapy Centre. Many different types of community groups I've been involved with. Surf Life Saving, I'm still a surf lifesaver, active surf lifesaver. But there's no better way to serve your community than to do it in federal politics. And I know that some of your listeners right now are probably thinking, this guy is on drugs. But I'm not. What I'm saying is actually true, because there is no better way to shape the future direction of this country than by being and serving as a federal minister or federal member of Parliament.
Can I just interrupt you there? One of the things I think that does not show politicians or people in Parliament in a fine light is most politicians, I dare say, go into it for that reason, to serve their environment, their community, perhaps their country. Yet that's not what's shown, on in the general public scene when we see visions of Parliament. So it's the same thing to me when I look at a doctor. They go into healthcare because they want to help people. They want to learn and they want to help with the medical side of the world. But you guys are actually really there at the forefront, wanting to make change and also, I dare say, be a part of history moving forward. What's that feel like now that you're actually in there? Like, is it hard? Is it exciting? Do you get a lot of negativity?
Look, there are always your people who, like what Tay says, haters going to hate. You do get a bit of that, but generally, most Australians are respectful and they acknowledge that, we actually do a pretty tough job. We live in a bit of a fishbowl and we're under constant scrutiny, and fair enough too, I guess, at the end of the day. But I think that most people serve in the federal parliament out of a desire to want to make the world a better place, to make Australia a better place. How that is perceived by the general public, most people don't follow politics in the same way that, say, I follow politics. Most people's exposure to politics is, seeing a snippet on the news from Question Time when they see, some sort of rowdy performance by what's going on during Question Time in the Parliament. But, there's so much more to being a member of Parliament than just what you see in that maybe 30-second grab on television. We as members of Parliament have the ability to not only shape the direction of the country by way of legislation, but that's at a macro level that impacts upon 25 million people. But we also do things like we are constantly taking inquiries from people who ring my office, and whether it's a Centrelink problem because their pension's been cut off for some unexplained reason, or their son is a returned soldier and is a veteran and is struggling with their mental health issues. Every conceivable issue that you can imagine to do with the federal government, people end up on my doorstep seeking help. And the vast majority of instances people will never hear about, and nor should they, because they are private. But the vast majority of times when I'm helping people, and every other politician that works in this place, the media won't be interested in, and nor will they ever hear about. So, it's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job. You're always on call. It's very demanding of both the parliamentarian and their families. They say that we're the volunteers, but the families are the conscripts. They didn't ask for this, but because of our collective passion to be involved in the political scene, they sort of get roped up into it. But I think it's important that, as best we can as parliamentarians, we involve our families and take them along the journey with us, so that they have a certain degree of ownership in the process.
I think it reminds me very much of, for many of our listeners, they'll know that Danny, my husband, played cricket for New Zealand. He worked his way up the ranks. He got selected. It was all very well being selected. He always said the hardest part was staying there and serving your country in the right way. A whole lot of people are brought together that don't necessarily know each other. So it's not
like the Australian cricket team.
Don't you talk to me about Australian cricket, or I'll just bring up the underarm.
I often talk about... it's really hard to get into the Australian cricket team, but it's even harder to get out.
Don't. True that. I'm not going to say anything more, except if you say anything about New Zealand cricket, I will say underarm, just saying, and the LBW that Danny should have been given.
I won't mention anything about Danny's batting prowess.
World record holder, just saying. But what I'm saying is that a whole lot of people are brought in, they're selected, so they don't necessarily know each other. Then they're brought in, and then they're expected to work together and come to make decisions and work together as a team for the greater good. it seems very similar to me, looking in here for the last 24 hours that I've been here, that a lot of you guys don't know each other. You've come in, then you're all trying to serve a greater purpose. But then there's characters, there's egos, there's people's beliefs. How do you deal with understanding and allowing people to have their thoughts, but also realising that you've got a job to do? How does Andrew manage that?
I think look, your listeners might be thinking, this guy's really on drugs now. But I think the underlying principle is one of respect. You've got to respect your colleagues, whether they're in your party or whether they're on the other side. Everyone is entitled to a view. I think one of the challenges for Australian society is we live in the age of outrage, and if you have a different view to to others, well, there's less tolerance of that view. We have an expectation that you will agree with me, and if you don't agree with me, then we're outraged that you couldn't possibly have a different view, and I think that's very unfortunate. We all need to respect the fact that we are entitled to our own opinions. We are entitled to freedom of speech. I'm a very firm believer in that, and you need to respect other people's right to have their say. We're not all going to agree, even on our side of the fence. We have some vigorous debates about legislation or policies, and as we should. But it's about mutual respect. What about?
Here I am sitting here at Parliament House. I've never been here before. It's been a massive eye-opener. It's huge. And we're in your office, which all the members and parliamentarians all have their own office. You've got 3 team members here, plus your wife. I am blown away at the amount of hours. There's no question about what time they start or finish. It is a real team effort. And one of the things that I took away from your team yesterday is that they're there to support, protect, and also shield you a little bit from what's going on out there. I want to ask you something really personal, because yesterday I got to see you speak in Parliament.
Yeah.
And I have to say to you, I'm not saying this because I know you, it was a very moving speech. It's I'm not going to get into political values here, but it was around the same-sex marriage. You're one of the few people that I've seen, in my eyes, that actually tells a story and talks from a personal experience. Now, there's beautiful things with that. All day yesterday, we had people coming in saying what an amazing speech it was. It moved me to tears. I felt very honoured to be there to see it and be a part of history to watch that. What about the haters? Like, we've also seen the negative of that. How do you shield yourself and your family when you share something so open and vulnerable? How do you shield your feelings and response to that? Does it hurt?
Oh, look, you wouldn't be human if you said it didn't hurt. Yeah, it hurts. But I guess you've got to acknowledge that, there are people in this world, unfortunately, that will hate, that will, if you have a different view to them, they will try and let you know in no uncertain terms that they think you're wrong, and they've got every entitlement to let me know that they have a different view, and that's fine. I guess, I would just suggest that people do it in a respectful way. But, I think it's important that I, as best I can, try and shield my family from that. And, look, I led with my chin and my heart yesterday, but, that wasn't. I'd obviously spoken to Leonie and to Caroline about what we were going to be saying yesterday, and to her credit, Caroline's an incredible young lady, and she is very keen to try and help other people through her own experiences. Leonie and I have always told people, anybody who listened from day dot, that everything happens for a reason. And whilst at the time your world may be crumbling and you don't know why you've been thrown this curveball, everything happens for a reason. Why is it that Caroline suffered from anorexia and we almost lost her several times? Why is it that we had a child, another child with birth abnormalities all at the same time? I don't know, but the old saying, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Every family has their own challenges, and I suppose the issue of same-sex marriage and also mental health issues all came to a head for our family, and we felt that we could utilise this opportunity to try and reach out to people who may be experiencing similar sort of problems that we had, similar sort of challenges that we had in this space. And, if we were able to touch one person's life yesterday, well then, hopefully it was worth it.
Oh, it was amazing. And I dare say it brings back to the point that you actually enrolled your family about taking on this role and got their permission and acceptance with the whole thing. It's the whole package.
Yeah.
How do you work from 6 a.m. in the morning through till midnight? Parliament was sitting still till midnight last night, allowing 125 parliamentarians to voice their message on same-sex marriage. How do you look after yourself? I mean, this is a health podcast. So, what do you do to look after your mental and physical well-being?
Well, Leonie's down here this week, which has been great. And we're a great team. I'd be lost without her. I couldn't do this job without her. So my family keeps me grounded. As do my staff. My staff are very good at keeping me grounded. I believe that mental health is so very important for us all, and particularly in a job which is as demanding as this one. But I've done a fair bit of research on the importance of mental health and the significance of the interrelation between physical health and mental health, and there are direct correlations between people who suffer from poor mental health and people who suffer from poor physical health. If you are, and obviously this is a generalisation and doesn't apply to everybody, but if you are unwell physically and you are physically unable to get off the couch or out of bed and go and exercise, you are more likely to suffer from some form of mental health, whether it be depression or anxiety or whatever the case might be. So in answer to your question, I try and exercise every day. When Leonie's not here, I'm usually in the gym here at 6 a.m. every day. I have a set routine which I do, and it's all about, for me, it's all about routine. I'm a creature of habit. I like to physically train every morning, and keep my cardio up and also do some weights as well. And I find that is a good way for me to deal with the stresses and pressures that this job brings.
Yeah, and I think the greatest thing with someone like Leonie, who's passionate about food and nutrition and looking after her family, it's just a really nice thing. Like you say, it's team, and I think that's a really special thing. You're down here 20, 30, how many weeks of the year?
Roughly about 20 weeks of the year.
So 20 weeks, 6 in the morning till sometimes really late at night.
Yes.
A week on at a time.
Sometimes, more often than not, 2 weeks at a time.
Wow. So it's actually a massive commitment. I'm going to ask, you don't have to answer the question exactly, but please tell me financially. I know that our Prime Ministers may be on a good pay, and obviously we can find that out, we can look it up, but you don't do this for the money, do you?
Look, as far as our wages, our salaries are public, so people can look that up. But I didn't come into this for the money. I would have earned more than double what I do now in my previous career as a barrister. So, I know that a lot of members of the public think that politicians are overpaid and underworked, and I get that. But really the truth is quite the opposite. Most people who come here have taken a pay cut to be here, and my phrase is that I earn half as much as I used to, but I have twice the job satisfaction.
Right.
And I mean that. I enjoyed being a barrister. It was a terrific profession, and I'm still technically a barrister. I still hold a practicing certificate. It earned me, very good money and set our family up financially. But, as far as the job satisfaction goes, it was nowhere near what the job satisfaction that I have in this position as a federal member of Parliament.
I'm blown away by you that you moved from Victoria to the Sunshine Coast. You fell in love with it. You built your family home. You were a builder, and correct me if I'm wrong, you ended up in a courtroom in Gympie from memory, watching the blue-collar worker not looked after perhaps in the way that you thought. You took yourself to university. You and your wife made a decision to go to university for 4 years. You'd get on a train and travel down to Brisbane. You didn't get to say goodnight to your daughters at night or say goodbye in the morning. Then you stand there sharing your love of supporting and helping people. You're out there at so many events. You are there to answer the phone. You were on the phone last night till 10 o'clock at night answering calls. I am blown away. If you are an example of what our politicians are doing, then I'd like to think that the country is in very good hands. And I know not everybody's like you, Andrew, and I know not everybody probably has the same aspirations as yourself, but I would just like to say publicly that it's been a really refreshing insight to be here, to be sitting in your office here at Parliament House is still pinching me a little bit.
Me too. I still pinch myself.
I bet. Is there anything that you personally have, what if I could wave a magic wand and Andrew Wallace could have whatever he wanted, what is it within the political world that you are really, when you get it, you're going to go, I know I made a difference, or I know I did it? What is that for Andrew?
Oh, well, I won't say world peace. I think that Parliament works best when we as parliamentarians truly work together, irrespective of our political allegiances. We hear about that. We hear about the toxicity of Canberra at the moment, and to some degree, that's right. There is a degree of toxicity in Canberra, and the level of, the level of angst between the parties and the members and senators. But we hear also about how, particularly after the war, after World War II, when many parliamentarians who were sitting in this place were veterans, and whilst they came from different parties and had different philosophical ideas about how to make the country a better place, they had this mission. They had a sense of, we are here for the benefit of the Australian people. And I think that was born out of their service to the country as war veterans. And as time went on, as those war veterans who served as parliamentarians died out or retired, we started to develop a professional career as being parliamentarians. And I think there are some people in this place that have done not much else other than be parliamentarians. And I think that's probably a weakness in the system at the moment. I think a good parliamentarian is someone who's done many other things and walked in the shoes of the average Australian, knows what it's like not to be able to pay the wages, or trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to pay my staff tomorrow. Gone into overdraft, borrowed against their house to be able to pay their staff, and sweated blood over how they're going to keep their business alive, or how they're going to help keep a business alive. Those are the sort of experiences that I think enrich parliamentarians. And I think that if we are able to move beyond this period of aggressive hostility between the parties, where we can move more towards an approach of where we work together for the benefit of the Australian people, I think that will be a great outcome.
I can honestly say, having witnessed it, and I've only seen a snippet, I understand, and I've asked you a million questions the whole time I've been here, because I've never been interested and I've never understood it, so I'm very grateful to that. I think from my perspective, having a professional cricketer as a husband, I hated the thought of watching cricket. Cricket to me was boring, so was politics. And what I noticed is coming down here, just like watching Danny play cricket, is it's very different watching it from ground level. It's very different watching it when someone you know is involved. And also you get to understand all the behind the scenes. So I have really, I know this is only a short podcast for us this week because you have got an unbelievable time slots ahead of you. But just one final message to our listeners, and perhaps to the people that are listening to this, either interested in politics, maybe even not interested in politics, maybe who have got something to say. Who do we go to if we do want to have a voice, and what's your final message to us?
My final message would be to get involved. One of the greatest challenges we face as Australians is apathy. And I think one thing that the postal survey for same-sex marriage proved is that Australians can engage and they can be interested. We've just got to find the topic that lights their fire. And, politics, people say to me, I'm not interested in politics, you guys are all the same. We're not all the same. We are different. We do have different philosophical beliefs about how the country should be run. And whether you're blue or red, whether you're, conservative or whether you're in the Labor Party or that way leaning, get involved. Take an active interest in your community, take an active interest in politics, because whether you like it or not, politics shapes the future of our country. And if you're not part of that process, if you're not involved in the process, then you don't have a say apart from once every 3 years at the ballot box.
Or a keyboard warrior getting behind there, blaming and shaming. And I think you're absolutely right. You've got to be in participation. You've got to actually read the material that comes to us if you want to, like you say. Do you think there's hope as far as Australia's future, politically, financially, and also environmentally? Is there a big hope that you see?
Absolutely. We are. I mean, I've had the privilege of travelling to many countries around the world, and we live in the best country in the world. We have so much going for us. We are still the lucky country, and I know that a lot of people feel that Australia is slipping, and I know that a lot of people feel that that life is challenging for them. But if I could take them to some of the parts of the world that I've been to and show them just how impossibly difficult people's lives are in other parts of the world, you would come back to Australia with a renewed enthusiasm and vigour that this is the lucky country. We do live in a great place in the world that values democracy, that values freedom of association and freedom of thought. You're not going to be hauled out in the street and shot because you have a different view to a political leader. We are so fortunate in this country that if you get sick, you can go to the doctor and get the world's best treatment. So there are so many things going for this country, and I'm very proud to be in this role, as I'm sure everybody is that sits in this place. But if I can leave you with one thing, and that is that as the federal member for Fisher, I continue to be very privileged. I feel very privileged for being in this role, and it's a role that I won't take for granted, and I'll always try and do the best I can for the people of Fisher, or the people of Queensland and Australia.
It's been an absolute privilege. I'm so grateful to have you. I know you've got 1,000,001 other appointments. So on that note, Andrew Wallace, we wish you all the best, and thank you so, so much.
Thanks, Kimmy, and thanks everybody for listening.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.